You're about to listen to a podcast full of wonder, excitement, and discovery. It's time for an adventure through Odyssey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Adventures Through Odyssey podcast, Odyssey Revisited. I'm Will, here with John and a new host. So some of you, and by some of you I mean none of you, have emailed me asking what happened to Elizabeth. Well, she was brutally mauled by a bear about 6 months ago, so that's where she's been.
Not actually. I know some of you might not understand sarcasm, so... Probably a good thing to say.
Okay, thank you, John. So, a friend of mine from my college, which will remain anonymous, started listening to the podcast and started listening to Adventures in Odyssey straight through. So, I'd like to introduce Liv to the show. Yay!
Hello.
Yay. Sorry.
So, now we're going to spend 10 minutes talking about ourselves. No. So, I know I said last week album 17, but today we're actually doing album 5 because she's going through them straight and she has not caught up to album 17, and she gave me some points on album 5, so a couple housekeeping notes. Yes, I am aware a recent episode of the official Adventures in Odyssey podcast talked about album 62 being titled Let's Put On a Show, and Mr. Skint is coming back, which I know means nothing to our new host here, but that will all make sense later. And also, John and I are in the process of moving, and in the process of moving, we found some old Odyssey PC games. If anyone is interested in us Twitch streaming those...
that would be so hard to do.
I got them to run on my computer.
Well, I mean, it's still hard to Twitch stream some stuff well.
Oh, I know. Well...
Especially stuff that was meant to run on systems from 20 years, like 10 years ago.
Well, if you can Well, anyway, the point... Okay, so if anyone's interested, leave that down in the comments. So today we're talking about Album 5, Daring Deeds and Sinister Schemes. So we're gonna... Yes.
Sorry.
No problem. So, it's a learning process, everyone. But, and also, I've got a new mic this week. If it needs to sound better, let me know. So, just forgive us. The Imagination Station, Parts 1 and 2. Digger Dig Willow learns that the Bible isn't boring by way of the Imagination Station in the story of the Crucifixion and Easter.
Oh my gosh. So, I was cleaning the, worst bathroom to clean in our cafeteria while I was listening to this episode, and I cry a lot. So, can you imagine me listening to these episodes while I'm cleaning toilets and urinals? No. It was rough.
Oh my.
It was so rough.
I appreciate that for the first Imagination Station episode, they just dive right in. They're like, oh, we're not gonna bother with anything like just some random Bible study. No, we're going straight to the crucifixion. Just.
Well, that is a very fair point. Now, I'm still not entirely sure what the Imagination Station looked like at this time, because there's the whole thing, it was originally designed as a phone booth.
I think this is when it did look like a phone booth, because from the animated show, there was something, and the animated show is not canon, but there was an episode where there's a newer one, and then they find an older version. It's like, this was the first prototype of the Imagination Station, so I assume it does look like that.
To all our new listeners.
I guess that's when you have to try to find concept art, I guess, for it.
Yes. Yeah. Adding to the canon, Mr. Whitaker is a Time Lord. But more importantly, Digger Dig Willow actually seems like a very interesting kid who never came back enough. He came back once.
He does come back in, a few albums later.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
From where I am now, he's come, one other time.
Yeah, that's the only other time he comes back.
That's sad, because I like him.
Yeah, and this is a good episode. I'm the one who goes on record and says I don't like a lot of the Imagination Station episodes because I think they take themselves a little too seriously.
Sometimes they do.
But at least this one kind of has the fun of, there's all these technical hiccups and stuff.
Right,
well,
and...
my least favorite part of this was, you know that you're back in time. Don't say stuff like the Imagination Station in front of characters who have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, it's a computer program, but yeah.
But yeah, this time I understand a little bit more, because, it's the first person who ever did it, and Whit didn't give them a great idea, but then the kids who have been at it before know what it is, and, in later episodes, they're just like, oh yeah, the Imagination Station must have sent me here, and characters are like, what are you talking about? It's a little.
The worst one was the episode with the grandma, who does not pick up on what's going on, even though she's shown to be pretty intelligent.
That's true.
Or at least, I can understand a 7-year-old being confused, but grandma,
Yeah.
or abuelita, as we should probably refer to her as.
That's how they refer to her in the show. So.
What album was that from?
That's way down the line.
57.
Oh.
You'll get to that one, and that one contains one of the worst plot twists in the show's history.
Well, but we won't focus on that.
Yes. All right.
Overall, a very good episode.
Absolutely. Good kickoff to the one invention they keep using. Episode 72, An Encounter with Miss Hooper. Donna is assigned by her church group to befriend grumpy old Miss Hooper at the nursing home.
I enjoyed that episode, actually.
Yeah.
It was another men's bathroom episode, but
I
enjoyed it.
I enjoyed this episode too. I always felt like the tone of the episode was very weird, though. When I used to hear it, it was just kind of, I don't know. It always seemed like it started off as an episode that seemed like it would be a fairly upbeat or maybe not as depressing episode, and it just gets like full on depressing.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than the Jay gets kicked out of a nursing home episode.
Well, okay, we're not going into that.
As the actual episode, I think we've all met that one crabby old lady, and John knows which one I'm referring to.
Yeah, I know which one you're referring to.
Not the one from church, the other one.
Oh. Well, I was actually thinking both of them, so...
Oh, okay.
Now I know which one you're talking about.
I haven't really had that experience yet, but I'm sure it will come up eventually. But
yeah. Notably, first canonical appearance of Richard Maxwell. He shows up in the first 30 seconds of the episode and then leaves.
Yeah. We should try to set him up before all this stuff happens, at least a little bit.
I got confused about the voice of Richard because he's in this episode and then another one, I think, and then the voice changes from Richard to someone else who's not a very good guy, I think it was.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I was very confused. I'm like, wait, that's but that's
the Richard
what?
Was
yeah.
That's what well, this is a better Richard, and we'll get to why in a moment. But very sweet episode, a nice ending, maybe a little more saccharine than Odyssey tends to go for. And this is one of the episodes where we learn more about Karen.
Oh yeah, that is true.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Karen.
I would listen to that at work, and I was having a really rough time with the episode.
It's a hard episode. It's nice they at least kept it going for a while, but they didn't dwell on it for too long.
Yeah, and I guess that's what you do, in general when someone dies. It's not your end-all and be-all. You have the experience every once in a while. My grandpa died, 2 years ago, and I still bring up some stories, but I don't dwell on it.
Right. So it's a good way to teach kids about grieving, but onto the arc of the album, just to save some time. A Bite of Applesauce, episode 73. Despite Whit's warnings of secrecy, Connie and Eugene accidentally load a forbidden program of a central computer at Whit's End.
Okay. This episode is so weird out of context of everything. The first time I listened to it before listening to everything else, it made zero sense. And I was so confused, what?
It's also notable, it's included on one of those compilation albums, set around a specific theme, and there's one themed on obedience. That episode's in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's an upbeat ending.
It was the prequel to the other episodes in the album.
Yeah.
I guess. But it was kind of weird, and I'm why didn't I wish Whit did give them a little bit explicit directions to not do it and explain a little bit of why. If he said don't touch this computer, it will shut down the whole shop, no one would have done it.
Right.
I also have the point that why did he even put the applesauce program on that computer?
Yeah.
Because it would be so easy not to and just kept it separately on a flash drive or
flash drives didn't exist.
Okay, or floppy disk then.
Floppy disks.
Or keep it on some Or just have it be super hard to get into, like Wit has to input a special code just to access it, not be like, oh, here's the program list, let's see what happens if I press it. Like, a secret door in the library is not gonna stop anyone.
Well,
no, especially when you know exactly where the key is.
Well, if he's gonna pick
it has to be a Chronicles of Narnia book.
Well, if he's gonna pick a Narnia book, pick Horse and His Boy. No one reads that one.
Kind of true.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is something that you will live, especially we'll see with Wit going forward. He loves to not tell people about things so they learn a lesson.
That is true.
Now, this was probably a little different, and I understand we never understand what applesauce was created for. That's not really the point. Wit not telling them what it will do to the shop is a little strange.
Yeah.
I even find it weird that he didn't tell Connie about it, because I feel
Yeah.
like if she had known about it, she wouldn't have done it, but the fact that he did keep it secret.
Well, yeah, but the woman has to be the one to do it if we're going from a direct allegory, and God didn't tell tell Eve about the tree.
Yeah, well, I think...
Oh my gosh.
Is that, like... I don't know if that's actually true, and I'm just gonna say that in case people in the people who comment on the video are like, that's definitely not true, he told both of them. So I'm gonna say that could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure God told Adam about the tree, but Adam told Eve about the tree, and then the serpent...
Okay, let's not dwell on this, because if we're wrong, we're gonna get like a...
I've got a Bible around here somewhere.
It's fine. No,
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay. Oh, here's a classic. Connie Goes to Camp, parts 1 and 2. The gang from Odyssey goes on another trip to Camp What-A-Nut. This time, the guys and girls compete in various events, and Lucy meets a new friend named Jill, who leads her into trouble.
I texted you about this episode, Will, because I was so frustrated with everything that was going on. It was so unrealistic. It was making me angry. Like, there were times that I had to pause it and walk away because I was so frustrated. I'm like, this doesn't happen in real life, especially in the 80s. What?
Yeah, your biggest complaint was she brought a TV to camp, which...
A TV!
In the 80s, that thing would have been massive.
Very large.
Right, I don't think kids today will appreciate... I mean, I get it's supposed to be kind of a, oh, haha, she brought a TV to camp. Kids today are going to get why that's kind of weird.
No.
Because they've got it on their phones now.
I'm gonna make...
Or, like, we still have, like, a giant box TV, and that's what I pictured when you said 80s TV, because I'm like, oh my gosh. Because it's massive.
Yes.
But then, when I was talking over with my family, like, well, we did have a small TV in the kitchen. But again, that was a box, and it weighed, like, a ton.
Right, it would still be big regardless.
Yeah. So, why?
I'm gonna make the point that this is very real relevance to the episode, but I think it's a little bit crap that they're like, oh, he broke his egg too, the race ends in a draw.
No, not a do-over, just a draw.
Well,
What?
I would have done it to the person who either got further with the egg or the one who kept it on his head the longest.
Yeah, well, remember, they don't want to say who wins in that contest.
Yes, I know, but it's like... Yeah.
Well, my thing is, every camp episode has to have one of 3 plots, and one of them is always boys versus girls. So the fact that Odyssey did it was a little weird.
Well, that's like every camp in America, I think.
Yeah.
Because even my summer camp, when I did go back when I was in 6th grade, they had boys versus girls competition. Did we like it? Not really, because we had to pick minnows out of a bucket, which was not entirely fun. But...
Yeah, I was about to say, did it ever get cutthroat? If anyone went to camp and had that happen to them, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to read that.
I don't remember if it ever went cutthroat, because that was many years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, again, this was included on a compilation album, and it's technically part of the arc, but at least it stands better on its own, minus about one line about the computer program.
Yeah.
Also, this is really like Lucy's 3rd or 4th appearance, so having
I
her...
like Lucy.
Yeah. Well, having her play kind of a girl who wants to break away from her stereotype was a little strange.
It's kind of true.
At that
Hey,
point.
everyone has their little rebellious stage, even in middle school.
Yeah.
I had one.
Yeah.
Yes. There was one other part of this episode that really bothered me, and I can't think of what it was.
Was it just how she gets kicked out of camp?
More of the fallout from how she gets kicked out of camp, but Yeah, the fact that it was kind of taken out of context was a little strange, but I get why they had to do it.
I mean,
Yeah.
again,
It's,
one problem.
Sorry, John.
It's fine. One problem I feel like with this episode is that it's just the tone. It tries to be like, oh, it's a happy camp adventure. It's boys versus girls, and then it's just like you have to leave camp, and it's like those two storylines like are kind of aren't really meshing well in this episode. I think it's a good episode. It's just when I listen to it, it's like it goes from kind of a funny, upbeat thing to like get out.
Well, remember, Connie did give them a warning, like, don't do it. And of course, the other girl, like, blatantly disobeyed twice.
Right.
It was clearly justified. And if they had obeyed the rules, none of it would have happened.
I'm not saying it's not justified. I think it's completely justified. It's just in the tone of the episode, the stuff, the boys versus girls is so, like, played up as goofy that when that happens, it's a little bit of a tonal problem. I think, yeah, she definitely deserved to get kicked out, but...
Oh, you saying that reminded me what my problem was. When they go to the girls' crafts class, and they're doing good homemaking, if any camp did that today...
Oh, man.
There would be problems. Like,
the parents would just be all over them.
Yeah.
I was very confused about the whole washing the floor thing. I think it was washing the floor. I was like, what is this?
Clearly they're janitors left.
Raising the future janitors of America.
Camp What a Nut. Okay, one of the weaker camp episodes, but I don't like camp episodes in general, so... Episode 70...
You had bad experiences, Will.
No, I just think they're kind of boring. It's like every anime has a beach episode. Every American show has a camping episode.
We don't have to go into the anime beach episode topic.
He's making a point, John.
I know, and it's definitely a true point, but we don't want to talk about that here.
Okay, 76, Eugene's Dilemma. Eugene is stuck with a problem that seems to be without a solution while working at the college computer lab. When he finds the solution, it seems to be more disastrous than ever.
I like this episode.
Yeah.
I do too.
Because we found someone who is exactly like Eugene, and I think he needed that.
Oh my.
I don't think because Tom gives Eugene so much crap over how smart he is, and then there was a kid that was exactly like Eugene, and it was great.
Yeah.
I remember his name, though.
Nicholas,
yes.
Well, Nicholas is a weird character because he comes back 2 more times, once to learn a lesson and once is kind of the bully of the piece. It's really strange. It's in album 17.
I kind of remember what you're talking about.
Well, I think he used the Imagination Station in one episode.
Yeah.
That's what I remember, yeah.
Yeah, the episode with Paul.
Yes. I liked that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see,
that's later.
Right, if Nicholas premiered today, he'd be like, oh, Eugene and Katrina need to adopt him, and blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's a complicated thing, but...
yeah, I'm just saying, for our normal fan.
What am I thinking of? Okay, one thing I like better about this episode than the camp episode is, although there are funny moments, it is more of a consistent tone, which I'm only bringing up the tone this album because I feel like there were several episodes where it kind of clashed. And I feel like, the story is told a lot better in one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. It kind of, the camp episode kind of stretched as a 2-parter, but I guess it needed to be a 2-parter, because there was so much stuff.
Right.
But I'm very glad that they didn't split up Eugene's episode into 2 parts, because
right.
I would have been bored out of my mind.
It's also nice Eugene's episode connects a little more to what happens later on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably due to the fact that Wit is directly in the episode and directly references it.
Right. And obviously, Wit and Connie kind of have a more bond than Eugene and Wit, so maybe that was part of the reason they did it the way they did. But nice to finally formal introduction to Richard Maxwell. Good episode, and now we move on to 77 and 78, The Nemesis Parts 1 and 2. Dr. Blackard and Richard Maxwell work through some very questionable methods to get Blackard's castle approved by the town council. Meanwhile, Connie and Wit make up, but Lucy becomes more closely attached to Richard Maxwell.
There are many episodes in TV shows like this, especially when the very good character gets involved with the bad character.
Yeah.
Or the henchman of the bad character, and I just see it all the time. But did anyone else think that Dr. Black sounded like Vincent Price, or was that just me?
A little. I see where you're coming from with that.
I was like, what?
Well, I never thought about that because I heard this episode when I was younger, so it never really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
What was the okay, I feel like this episode, I get why they had to do it, but it really is just to be like, here's who Blackguard is.
Yes, but they did introduce debatably the best Odyssey villain.
Yeah.
Right, and I agree with that, but it's also like, I'm not gonna say the episode stretched out, but they could have condensed it, I feel like, to one episode. And I get it builds up other stuff, but listening to it just by itself, it's a little slow.
I mean,
I like it though. It's just.
I mean, they wanted to make this feel like an event because remember, this is when it aired all year, so this was like their big summer story.
Oh.
That's part of the reason I have the camp episode. But so now what I'm going to say about Dr. Blackguard as a character is because he and Richard Maxwell rear their heads again a few more times in the series. The more they do with Dr. Blackguard, the less interesting he becomes. But the more they do with Richard Maxwell, the more interesting he becomes.
That's definitely true.
They may never reveal like why Dr. Blackguard's evil, which I appreciate because I think giving villains a backstory kind of devalues some of their potential. Maleficent. But anyway, it's nice to kind of see Connie and Whit make up. Finally, they wanted to see that they learned the lesson. And this is the episode where Applesauce goes off again while Connie's in the shop.
Yeah.
No, that's the battle.
Yeah, that's the battle. Because that's what happens to Lucy.
Right. Speaking of Lucy, how did you feel about how she treated Connie?
Well, Lucy had a right to be angry at Connie, but I don't think it was really anger. It was more like resentment. Because it wasn't all Lucy's fault the second time she was caught outside of her cabin. But so I guess it was like there was resentment there, but some of it was like, all right, Lucy, you're kind of being a drama queen. Come on now.
Yeah. Mainly because it was her fault the first time. Had she been trying to do something else both times and then gotten kicked out, because there's an episode that does that later that I can't stand because I actually do that plot, I can understand Lucy being a little angry.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we got more to say in the battle, but our best vacation ever, episode 79. There's only 2 left. The Barclays find they can't afford a vacation during the summer, so George Barclay tries to invent ways to help them have fun.
The staycation before the staycation was cool.
Yeah, we've made jokes about on the show before how poor the Barclays are for some reason, but they somehow seem to live pretty well.
Well, like their excuse was that we're saving up for our ski trip,
which was very anticlimactic.
Yeah, because they're like, let's actually do the ski trip since we brought it up. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of moments in this episode that are good, like the water fight, although that was supposed to originally be a food fight, but I thought wasting food on the radio was a bad idea.
What?
That actually is, like, I heard about that. They're like, it was supposed to be a food fight, but then we're like, wasting food is a bad message to send to kids.
What?
And resenting your camp counselors isn't?
Yeah! How many TV shows are out there, or movies, that have food fights in them? For real.
Yes.
I feel like I wish this episode was earlier in the album, just because it's like, this happens, and then, like, the big dramatic thing happens, then this happens, then the final thing happens. The only reference to the events was even that they had a barn raising.
Oh yeah, Tom's barn did burn down in the last one.
That's like the only significance. We're like, we're gonna raise the barn. I'm like, you really didn't have to put that line in.
Well, it was nice just to show that things were happening and that they did something with Tom's barn. Yes, Tom's barn, one of the long-standing plot points of the show.
It's true.
I'm not kidding. You'll understand that later.
No, I I'm kind of getting
They use
that
it a lot.
Yeah.
because Kurt decided to do something stupid in Tom Riley's barn.
Yeah.
But
Yes. Oh, Kurt and Lucy. Wait till we get to that one. But okay,
Yeah.
so I like this episode. It's a very fun episode, which I think if you were listening to this on the radio, it would be a little annoying because, oh, we have all this dramatic stuff with Blackguard. Really goofy vacation episode.
yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, Staycation before it was a thing, and I promised I wouldn't make an Arthur reference, so I'm not even going to reference that episode.
Thank you.
So, it does exist, though. You can look it up.
Sure it does.
Remember, DW leaves the
Okay,
window
no,
open and
no,
all the
no,
birds
no,
get
no.
in the house.
That's
Okay, anyway.
not a story, but
Yes, it is. But anyway, so I just like to know, is there just a random water slide at their lake?
Yeah, that, like, I understand, like, some lakes will do that, but how many?
Yeah. Well, they made it sound like there wasn't a beach, just there was a water slide, and I think they bring it up again later.
yeah, because they just brought up the water slide specifically. It wasn't even like, oh, the beach and there's a slide. They're like the water slide.
Where are you?
Yeah. And the Odyssey Zoo never gets brought up again, so...
It's brought up once or twice, but
Oh, yeah.
no, because remember
Secretly,
it closes down.
When?
Remember in like album 30, doesn't it close down? Cause that family.
Oh, yeah!
That's when they bring it up again.
Because the Mulligans adopt all the
Yeah,
animals.
which is weird.
What?
There's a family that like ends up adopting like a whole zoo of animals.
Oh.
Did-
So, what was that movie?
We bought a zoo,
Yes, we bought a zoo. It's the We Bought a Zoo.
basically.
Before it was a thing.
Yes. Alrighty.
Focus.
Last episode of the album, because it's a lot of two-parters, The Battle, Parts 1 and 2. Dr. Blackner and Richard Maxwell use a modem to hack into Wit's End to try to steal a computer program, producing some tragic side effects.
I'm just gonna say this: such a dark ending,
Yeah.
especially for Odyssey. She just and it's not even like they resolve it. She doesn't it just end with like her going in and it erupting, and that's almost the end of the episode. And then Chris is like, "What happened to Lucy?"
Lucy almost died, guys. That
Yeah.
was pretty dark.
Well, it was
It's
supposed to
like,
be Jimmy.
No.
It was.
At one point, according to the official guide, it was supposed to be Jimmy, but they wanted to finish Lucy's arc.
Which makes sense.
But yeah, I agree. One thing the newer episodes have gotten really good at doing is taking Chris's audio bumps out for cliffhangers, so you don't get the random tonal shift of what happened to Lucy.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, whenever... This is not a problem now. When Michelle would have a darker ending on the radio, Chris would come in and do like a really goofy send-off just to help the kids calm down. And
Oh my gosh.
even when I was the target age range, it felt jarring to me.
Yeah.
Chris annoys me.
Don't worry.
Like, just start the episode already.
They stopped doing those skits pretty soon, I think, from where you are. Because it was eating up too much time, and they like added more ads to radio time, so...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Now this is of course this is the first time Wit's End officially closes. We'd like to keep a tally of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was one other time when they found the tunnel, and... Okay, anyway.
Probably like 5 times it's been closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Didn't they close it out because they found a body somewhere?
They didn't close it because of that. Hold on, I'm gonna hop
They
out of
probably
frame.
should have.
Yeah.
Oh, we found a
It's
dead
like-
body in the basement. Should we close down?
Oh no.
Just
Someone
gonna
make...
keep serving up sodas and Sundays like normal.
Wasn't it technically still open during the tornado?
Yes!
Like, people were in it.
Yeah. No. If it's the episode I think you're thinking of, it was just Connie and Wit in Wit's End.
Oh no, that's the thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah. It was
no,
a
I
rip.
thought there was a tornado because they said it was in that
Oh,
area.
there was a tornado. There's another episode about a tornado hitting, and that's what he's referring to. But,
Okay, then.
yeah, I think you're right. Wit's End really doesn't close unless Wit feels government secrets are about to spill out.
True.
Because, again,
Wit knows everything.
Wit used to be a secret agent. He's got all that dictionary money.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I don't want to spoil, but...
Seriously, like, what funds, like, besides the kids, because I don't think those kids actually pay.
Yeah, Wits End, no one pays.
No one pays for it. Well, I've heard, like, when the adults would come in, I would hear change clattering, but that's really it.
Yeah. Wit gives away a lot of ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Wit is basically the owner of a dictionary company, just in case you don't know this. So he's got a lot of money, they just never reference it.
Could there eventually be an episode, I wonder, when Wit runs out of money? Because he keeps buying a lot of stuff for the...
That'd be like
end.
the final episode of Odyssey. Like, they throw in all this dramatic stuff for the last album, and then it, like, each person...
Wit's End is closed for good, and Wit is bankrupt.
Yeah.
Well, they're never gonna end that show if they think too much
And
money.
lives with the Barclays.
Oh my... I don't think Focus will ever end Odyssey, as from what I understand, it might be the only thing making them money at this point.
That's probably kind of true.
You know, we've got that big tourist attraction in Colorado, but back to the actual episode. I like how they concluded it. Obviously, with the stuff that was to come, this climax isn't as climactic as, say, like, Novacom.
Yeah, but
I actually think overall this is the best arc of stories, namely because it was before Blackguard became insane.
yeah.
Wait a minute. There was a time before Blackguard was insane?
Well, I'm saying he comes back a few times, and, like, his final showdown
Is
it's a little weird.
a little crazy in those.
Yeah. Like, you finally find out why he wanted to get into Wits End, but the reason doesn't make much sense if you really stop to think about it.
He really wanted that applesauce.
Ugh. Well, we know that's why he wanted it in the first place. There's more layers here that get peeled back later.
Alright.
Yeah. Wit finally deletes applesauce, although that's not the last time we're going to hear from it.
No, probably not. Maybe he has it on a floppy somewhere.
Yeah, they're cleaning out Wits End and they find it. No, it's in Wits End, Connellsville. But yeah, a good climax. We kind of leave Maxwell on a bittersweet note, but he does kind of get his revenge on Blackguard, even though it just it does kind of blow up. Although the destruction of Blackguard's palace does lead for the introduction of.
Let's
not say
he probably
it.
does know. It's definitely showed up by now.
What replaced?
I don't remember if it
The
did.
Electric Palace.
What?
Okay.
Never mind.
We won't talk about it.
It's album
No,
11.
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, The Electric Palace.
Nope, that hasn't come up
Yeah.
yet.
Then it's album 11, I think. But
Okay.
it leads to one of Odyssey's weirdest landmarks. But anyway,
Yay.
and Regis Blackguard leads to a very interesting character later on. But that finally wraps up this album. So I'd like the final thoughts.
Very good album.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. There were like some things I was upset about. Of course, the camp episodes, but other than that, all in all, it was a really good album.
Yes, it's probably one of my favorites, namely because it's an arc, but it doesn't get too self-absorbed. It's not too long, and the ending isn't super weird. Like, I said this in our Novacom show, that ending was okay. So now to have a trivia question. So, in keeping with tradition, we are going to ask a trivia question that relates to next week's episode. So in the episode, You Gotta Be Wise, when Rodney forms a band, what instrument does he play? I don't know if you've heard this one.
Wait.
That sounds familiar.
I don't even
don't
remember him starting a band.
That's the episode where Robin and Dale get into a big fight over it because there's all these vulgar lyrics.
Oh, wait.
I don't remember.
Was it the kazoo?
No.
It was something stupid like the triangle or tambourine.
Do you want me to give you a hint?
Sure.
A friend of mine used this instrument to ask a girl to prom.
Oh, the accordion?
Yes.
And it's not even a friend of yours, Will. It was a friend of mine.
Well, I know it well enough. Okay, well...
I'm like, yeah.
That wraps up this episode. Join us next week when we will talk about album 13. It all started when... ...
And I'll get to that album eventually.
Yeah,
It's coming, though.
At the speed you're going, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So, Gabe will hopefully join us again next week. He's currently at the Grand Canyon. But we'd like to thank Liv for joining the show, because we could use a fourth person and a female presence.
Yay.
But, so all the information's in the description. If you would like us to do a Twitch stream, let me know. But I'm Will.
I'm John.
And I'm Liv.
We'll see you next week.